Well, 2 months ago I was already like living comfy in this prison I created for myself, you know, this isolation cell. I stopped seeing my friends, you know, I felt guilty about using, you know, and all in legal ways. I mean, I was getting prescribed opium from my doctor and pure Peruvian and Bolivian sea. You know, and it was a lonely place. I had heard about Ibogaine before, and all of a sudden I had this flash. It's like, oh, Ibogaine can reset your addiction. And so I started to look for places and found Tabula Rasa. And prior to taking the test dose, I did feel a bit of fear. I was like, oh my God, I'm really doing this. I'm really doing this. And there was that moment where I was afraid of being confronted with my deepest demons. But I mean, I had already taken the pill, so I knew if I would, you know, put more energy into that, then yeah, I'd freak out, and I didn't want that, so I let go. Well, apparently my heart stopped. I went into a seizure and my heart stopped. My heart had been acting out on the monitor for quite a while apparently, so Fred was already like anticipating the worst case scenario. And I'm telling you, I'm so glad he was here. Because, you know, they do Iboga sessions up on the hill, you know, you have to walk for 2 hours before you get there, and just imagine when something goes wrong. Not so cool was being taken away by the ambulance. The bright lights did not agree at all with the plant. There was a shock. I remember them shaving my chest, my hairy chest, and being taken away. I spent the next 2 days in cardiology in Beja. And when I came back, I was treated with, you know, real food, and I was surrounded by faces I knew. And even when I arrived at the hospital, there's one point I realized that I had no withdrawal symptoms. You know, my back wasn't hurting, and you know, and I wasn't having cold sweats and hot sweats and restless legs and diarrhea and you know, and the feeling that, you know, something was crawling up under my skin and feeling sick, like puking, and there's none of that. As a matter of fact, 3 days later I realized that my tinnitus had disappeared, you know, the ringing in the ears that appeared 2 years ago, suddenly on my birthday, disappeared on my birthday again, because I took Iboga on my birthday, and I died on my birthday, and I was resuscitated on my birthday. So the expectation I had of being reborn was actually literally given to me. First few days were tough, man, as far as energy, you know, in my body. You know, if you want to talk about how I felt physically, I felt like 100 years old, and I looked like 100 years old, and I mean, I shuffled my feet like slowly, like an old man, and almost careening down the hall, you know, barely making it to the table. Day by day, I started to feel better. You know, don't expect the plant to do everything for you. You have to do quite a bit of footwork. And I think the things that they do here, you know, even though you might feel a bit of resistance before, you know, like the breath work and the Kundalini yoga, and it really has been very, very, very beneficial. Before, it took me, I would say, about 3 months to feel in such, you know, like I've detoxed before, and this is by far, perhaps, in my case, a traumatic experience, but also profound experience that I've had. in how quickly I was able to shift, to become, you know, even when I look at myself in the mirror, I feel like another person, you know. I have reconnected with parts of myself. At moments I've reconnected with myself. I really have. Iboga is like a facilitator, you know. It's someone that gives you the tools or the will to use the tools that are given to reconnect to yourself and stop being in a prison, in an isolation cell. I feel electrified. I feel touched. I feel blessed. Just do it. Just come and do it. I did it. I'm glad I did. I'm looking to a shift of perception and time when medicinal plants become a more integral part of our culture, like they are in other cultures. And I'm grateful for people who put such a thing together.